Jared Kellen had never imagined that a simple supply run across the outer rim of the Trivax cluster would lead him here. On a planet that defied every star chart he'd studied in the Galactic Academy, the sky shimmered with violet and teal auroras, casting a surreal glow over jagged crystal formations that jutted from the ground like the teeth of some ancient predator. The air was thick with the scent of metallic ozone and the faintly sweet aroma of blooming flora, whose colors shifted with each passing hour. Jared inhaled sharply, the recycled oxygen of his suit mixing oddly with the alien atmosphere. Setting his nerves on edge, he had traveled farther than most humans ever would. Yet this world, Phaedronine, felt alive in a way he'd never experienced. Something pulsed beneath the jagged terranon unspoken rhythm, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. His ship scanners picked up nothing unusual, but his instincts screamed otherwise. That's when he heard it, the faint melodic sound of crying. Jared frowned, scanning the crystalline ridges with his visor. The voice was small, fragile, like that of a child. Curiosity overpowered caution. He followed the sound down a winding canyon rim, slipping past jagged shards of sapphire and crimson glass-like formations. And there she was. She crouched on the ground, her 4 slender limbs folded beneath her, skin glistening like liquid silver under the auroralit sky. Her eyes were impossibly large, violet and luminous, and they blinked at him in confusion and terror. Jared froze. The alien wasn't aggressive, it was just, "Alone, you're okay?" he asked, his voice soft in the silence of the canyon. The creature tilted her head, eyes narrowing, before a tiny, trembling sound escaped her throat. Her form shook slightly. Jared crouched, careful not to startle her further. "I'm Jared. I'm not going to hurt you," the girl, or whatever species she was, stared at him for a long moment before something in her demeanor changed. Exhaustion, perhaps, or sheer helplessness. Her body slumped forward, and before Jared could react, she leaned against him, her head finding the warmth of his lap. "Whoa," he muttered, unsure whether to recoil or comfort her. "You're tired." She let out a soft sigh, eyes fluttering closed. Despite the bizarre circumstances, Jared felt a pang of protectiveness. He had survived pirates in the outer belt, navigated black hole fields, and faced hostile alien mercenaries. Yet nothing had ever made his heart tighten like this fragile, silver-skinned being resting against him. Then came the sound, a deep, reverberating growl that shook the crystalline canyon walls. Jared stiffened, scanning the horizon. Shadows moved between the jagged formations, massive shapes with jagged appendages, their eyes glowing like molten amber. Predators, clearly drawn by movement, or perhaps by the scent of the small alien girl. Jared's hand instinctively went to his pulse blaster. "Stay still," he whispered, gripping the weapon. The creatures crept closer, their movements fluid yet deliberate, like hunting blades slicing through water. The girl stirred in his lap, sensing the tension. Her hands tiny, Claude tapped softly on his leg, almost as if urging him to move, to do something. But Jared couldn't retreat. The canyon walls were too jagged to climb quickly. He glanced around desperately, mind racing for an escape. Then a thought struck him. Maybe, if I lure them to the crystal ridge, they can't navigate the sharp edges as well, he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. The girl's eyes opened, wide and trusting, meeting his. He nodded, silent agreement passing between them. The first of the shadows lunged, and Jared rolled to his side, taking the girl with him. His pulse blaster fired in a streak of blue light, the creatures snarling in fury as they were forced back by the sudden attack. But there were too many, too fast, and then the canyon walls themselves seemed to shimmer in response to the auroras above, a strange resonance vibrating through the ground. The girl lifted her head slightly, and Jared noticed her eyes glinting brighter than before, like she was reacting to the creatures. Jared froze, pulse racing. Whatever this girl was, she was not as defenseless as she seemed. The growls intensified, closer now. The girl let out a small melodic hum, and the very crystals around them began to vibrate, emitting an eerie, resonant tone that made the predators hesitate. Jared swallowed hard. Okay, this just got interesting. And then the first creature hesitated mid-lunge, as if the sound had struck some primal chord deep within its instincts. The girl's hum grew louder. Her eyes met Jared's again, and he realized that in her exhaustion, in her fear, there was a power he could neither name nor control. And just like that, the canyon erupted into a strange, trembling symphony of sound and light.
The hum from the silver-skinned girl had stopped abruptly, leaving Jared and the creature predators frozen in a tense silence. For a heartbeat, it felt as though the canyon itself was holding its breath. Then, with a shuddering groan, the predators retreated into the shadows, their glowing eyes vanishing one by one. Jared exhaled, slumping back against the jagged crystal wall. I don't even know what just happened. The girl nestled closer, tiny fingers brushing against his forearm. She looked exhausted, but something in her luminous eyes seemed alert, calculating. We need to get her somewhere safe, Jared muttered, glancing at the narrow canyon exit. The crystals along the path shimmered under the alien aurora, making every step feel treacherous. He carefully lifted her in his arms. Hold on tight. And, don't bite me. Her small hands didn't grip, didn't resist. She merely let her head rest against his chest, trusting him in a way that made his chest tighten. The journey to a safer location wasn't long, but it was perilous. Razor-sharp crystal shards jutted from the canyon floor and walls. Every wrong step could spell disaster. Yet the girl seemed to instinctively guide him, her head occasionally lifting to give him a soft, pulsing glow from her eyes like a beacon. Finally, they reached a hidden grove. Dense with alien flora that waved in the strange, aurora-lit wind, the air was warmer here, tinged with an earthy sweetness. Jared set the girl down gently on a bed of soft, luminescent moss. I'm Jared. What should I call you? He asked. The girl blinked slowly. A single word resonated in her mind, almost as if it were thought directly into his consciousness. Lyra. Lyra, he repeated, testing the sound. Okay, Lyra, you're safe here. For now. No sooner had the words left his mouth than a low rumble shook the ground. Jared's eyes snapped to the grove's edge, where an enormous shape emerged from the shadows. It was humanoid in silhouette, towering over him, with sleek, segmented armor that glimmered like obsidian. Its elongated limbs ended in clawed hands, and its face a mask-like visage held no recognizable emotion. Jared instinctively raised his pulse blaster. Hey, stay back! The alien stopped, tilting its head in curiosity. You are human, it said in a deep, resonant tone. The voice was strange vocal cords. Telepathy, he couldn't tell. And you harbor Lyra. Jared tightened his grip on the blaster. She's just a child, or whatever species she is. We're leaving. The alien studied him silently. Then it spoke again. You do not understand. Lyra is important. Important to whom? Jared demanded, his instincts screaming that he was dealing with something far beyond him. The alien's eyes glowed faintly. To the Valens, and to the survival of your species. Jared froze. Survival of my species? Yes, the alien said, stepping closer. Its movements were fluid, almost mesmerizing, like a predator that knew it already held the upper hand. Humans are expanding too fast, too recklessly. The galaxy is not yet ready for your kind. She is the key. Jared's mind raced. Galactic politics, ancient alliances, interstellar treaties, he'd studied them all. Yet nothing in any textbook prepared him for a talking, armored alien declaring a child the key to humanity's fate. Lyra stirred in his arms, sensing his tension. Her eyes glowed faintly, pulsing with rhythm that seemed to sync with Jared's heartbeat. The alien recoiled slightly, as though the child's presence unsettled it. Jared swallowed hard. I don't know what she can do, and I'm certainly not letting her go with you. The alien's gaze hardened. Then you will die here. Before Jared could respond, the ground beneath them quivered violently. Crystal shards fractured, spraying glittering shards like a storm of deadly rain. The alien stumbled but quickly regained its balance. Jared grabbed Lyra, realizing their time was short. He ran blindly through the grove, dodging jagged crystal formations that erupted with each quake. Lyra's small hands pressed against his chest, her pulse-like glow intensifying with each step. It was as if she knew exactly what to do, her silent guidance, keeping them one step ahead of collapsing terrain and unseen dangers. They reached a narrow ledge overlooking a shimmering lake, the water reflecting the aurora-lit sky. Jared set Lyra down gently and scanned the horizon. Behind them, the alien figure emerged again, its armor catching the strange light, gleaming like a predator stalking prey. Jared crouched beside Lyra. I don't know what you are, Lyra. I don't know what you're capable of, but I swear I'm not letting anything happen to you. Her eyes glowed brighter. She leaned slightly toward him, and in that moment, Jared realized something astonishing. She was communicating not with words, but with intent. Her mind reached out, a gentle pulse that conveyed trust, urgency, and a silent plea. We must survive. Together. The alien predator's voice echoed across the lake. This is your final warning, human. Surrender, or perish. Jared's jaw tightened. He looked down at Lyra, then back at the advancing figure. Perish isn't really my style, he muttered under his breath, gripping his blaster. Time to see what humans and, maybe Lyra can, really do. The air hummed with tension. The auroras overhead danced like flames, reflecting in the crystalline lake as the first move in a deadly chess game unfolded. The alien didn't attack immediately. Instead, it watched, fluid and deliberate, waiting for Jared to make a move. But Jared knew running meant death. The jagged cliffs and crystal-laden ground were a trap, and the figure's reach was far superior to his. Lyra's small, luminous form in his arms seemed almost heavier now, a weight of responsibility pressing down with every heartbeat. Then, without warning, the alien lunged. Its segmented armor gleamed like black ice, and Jared fired his pulse blaster. Blue arcs scorching the ground inches from its feet. The creature moved faster than any human reflex could follow. In a blur, it swept him aside, sending him tumbling down a slope. Lyra shrieked, but it wasn't fear. It was alarm, sharp and urgent. Jared scrambled to his feet, pulse racing. Lyra's glow pulsed in sync with his own heartbeat, a comforting rhythm that bolstered his courage. Okay, kid, he muttered, show me what you've got. She didn't answer with words. Her eyes flared bright violet, and a wave of resonating energy erupted from her small body. The ground vibrated violently, forcing the armored alien to stagger back. Crystals in the canyon exploded outward, cutting off its path and buying Jared a precious moment. You're not human, Jared gasped, awe mixing with terror. Lyra's hum intensified, more melodic now, almost deliberate. She pushed forward not with hands, but with the force of her presence. The alien recoiled as though struck by an invisible wall. Jared realized the truth in a flash. Lyra wasn't just defenseless, she was a weapon, or a key, as the alien had said. Before he could process further, a vortex of swirling light opened above them, shimmering like liquid glass. A beam of energy enveloped Jared and Lyra, lifting them from the canyon floor. When the world steadied, they were no longer in the wild terrain of the grove. They were inside a massive chamber. Suspended in a lattice of glowing light, the chamber's walls were alive, pulsing with intricate patterns almost organic in design. Towering figures moved within, their features sharp and alien, their voices echoing in a strange chorus of clicks and resonances. Jared's pulse blaster was useless here. Survival meant adaptation. One figure approached tall, with eyes like molten gold and limbs that glinted like polished metal. Its presence radiated authority. You are far from your territory, human, and yet you hold Lyra. I don't know what you want from her, Jared said, keeping his tone steady. She's just a Khador, something like it. She's not your tool. The figure tilted its head. She is not a tool. She is a child of fate. You, however, you are an intruder who must choose, cooperate or perish. Jared glanced at Lyra. She was calm now, her glow steady, almost defiant. Somehow, she understood, and somehow she trusted him completely. What? Cooperate means, Jared asked cautiously. To be integrated into our society, to learn our ways, to aid in the trials to come, the alien said. Its voice was cold but precise. Lyra's abilities will be tested, guided, and protected. But to refuse is to invite destruction. Jared's chest tightened. Alien society, alien laws, alien powers, and he was expected to follow. And yet, what choice did he have? Lyra's trust rested on him. Agree, he said slowly, testing the weight of the decision on his own conscience. I'll cooperate, but I make no promises about following orders blindly. The alien's eyes narrowed. Very well, you will live. But no, this our world is not forgiving. Strength is survival. Weakness is death. A surge of wind or energy passed through the chamber, and Jared felt it pressing against him, testing him. Lyra's small body pulsed with a comforting warmth, a silent tether he could hold on to. He realized that, for all his training, for all his human ingenuity, the Valens were a force beyond comprehension. You will sleep now, the alien intoned, and awaken for training. Jared's eyes widened. Sleep. How do not question, the alien said. Its golden eyes glowed brighter. You will awaken as part of this world, whether you like it or not. Before he could resist, a wave of luminescent energy washed over him. The chamber's lattice shimmered, and Jared felt his consciousness stretch and bend. Sinking into a state between waking and dreaming, Lyra leaned against him, head warm and small on his chest. Her pulse glowed in rhythm with his own. In that moment, he realized something extraordinary. Even in this alien society, even under impossible circumstances, they were together. Yet the thought brought a chill. The trials of the Valens were not games. This world demanded perfection, strength, and cunning, and Jared wasn't sure if he or humanity was ready. As darkness overtook him, he heard the alien's voice echo in his mind one final time. Only those who endure may alter the course of fate. Fail, and you will not rise again. The last thing Jared felt before surrendering to sleep was Lyra's hand tightening on his arm, a silent promise.
When Jared awoke, the chamber had changed. The soft, luminescent lattice of the Valen training hall now pulsed with a cold, white light, casting long shadows across the polished floor. Lyra stirred beside him, her small body twitching as though in a half-dream. Her glow was faint, subdued, and for a moment Jared's chest tightened with unease. Something felt wrong. Before he could ask, a figure emerged from the shadow stall, imposing familiar. It was one of the Valen trainers, the same golden-eyed alien who had delivered the ominous warning. Yet now, its gaze seemed sharper, calculating, almost coldly amused. "Awake," the alien said, its voice a melodic resonance that seemed to echo directly into his mind. "Good, you have slept. Now you will learn the first lesson. Trust is a weakness." Jared frowned. Trust. The Valen ignored the question. Lyra is not what she seems. Her power is unpredictable. We have been patient, watching your species, observing you. And now, the moment comes to see if your bond will survive or shatter. Jared's pulse quickened. "What are you talking about?" The alien raised one clawed hand. In a flick, Lyra's glow surged unnaturally, her small frame trembling as if pulled by some invisible force. "Control her," the alien commanded, in a tone that made the words feel like steel pressing against his skull. "If she defies you, she dies. If you fail, you die. The choice is yours." Jared staggered backward, his heart hammering. "Wait, what? You're saying you want me to?" The Valen's lip sore. What passed for a lip curved into a cruel approximation of a smile. "We will see if humanity can rise above instinct, or if it will fall, as expected." Lyra's eyes widened, violet light flickering erratically. She let out a soft, tremulous hum that resonated in the chamber like a tuning fork, and Jared felt it like a shockwave against his chest. Her body trembled in his arms. Yet there was no fear, only confusion, hurt, and a desperate plea he could almost understand. Jared realized, with a sickening clarity, that the Valens had orchestrated this moment. The creature that had once seemed a potential alior, at least a neutral judge, was testing them, using Lyra as leverage to manipulate him. "No," Jared said, voice low and firm. "Not like this. Not her. Not ever." The Valen stepped closer, claws clicking softly against the polished floor. "You will comply, or she dies. Or you die. Both are acceptable outcomes. Choose." Jared's mind raced. Options flickered and vanished. Almost instantly there was no standard human tactic that could win against this. And yet, he remembered something. Lyra's reaction in the canyon, the way her glow had repelled the predators. Her strength wasn't in submission, it was in her trust and her bond with him. He set Lyra down gently, crouching to her level. "Lyra," he said softly, "I won't let them hurt you. Do you understand?" Her eyes met his, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. And then, something extraordinary happened. Her hum intensified, resonating outward, filling the chamber. The Valen froze, claws trembling as the lattice walls began to shimmer violently. Jared felt it too, a strange energy flowing through him, connecting him to Lyra in a way that was more than physical. Her presence bolstered him, made his mind sharper, his instincts faster. This was not fear, it was synergy, a fusion of human ingenuity and alien power. "Good," the Valen hissed, retreating slightly. "But do not think this absolves you. The trials have only begun. Fail again, and your species will regret the day it crossed us." Before Jared could respond, the Valen vanished in a blur of movement, leaving only the echo of its resonant voice. The lattice walls returned to their gentle, glowing pulse, and silence fell over the chamber. Jared looked at Lyra, who now seemed calmer, but still small and fragile in his eyes. "They tried to manipulate us," he murmured, "but we're stronger than they think." Lyra's hum softened, almost like a sigh of relief. She leaned against him, and Jared realized something crucial: the Valens. True test wasn't just about obedience or strength, it was about their bond. Their ability to trust each other in the face of impossible odds. He straightened, determination hardening his jaw. If they think they can break us, they don't know humans, and they don't know Lyra. As he reached for his pulse blaster, the chamber trembled again. A new presence had arrived, something larger, something darker, and Jared's stomach dropped. Whatever was coming, it wasn't a Valen trainer. The shadows in the corner of the room shifted, forming shapes too massive to ignore. The air vibrated with a low, guttural hum, as though the chamber itself feared what had entered. Jared tightened his grip on Lyra. Looks like the next lesson just showed up early. The glowing violet eyes of Lyra met his, pulsing with determination. Together, they stood ready. The bond between human and alien stronger than any manipulation the Valens could throw at them. And then, the darkness surged forward. The darkness hit like a tidal wave. Jared barely had time to raise Lyra in his arms before the massive figure surged forward, each step shaking the chamber's crystalline floor. Its presence radiated an oppressive heat, a power that felt older than the stars themselves. Jared's pulse blaster barely registered against it, the energy arcs sputtering uselessly against its armor-like skin. He shouted, trying to keep his voice steady, "We need a plan now." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly violet, a pulse of light that seemed to synchronize with his heartbeat. She hummed softly, a resonant vibration that filled the chamber. Jared felt the energy ripple through him, bolstering his reflexes, but it wasn't enough. The creature advanced with a fluid, terrifying grace. The Valen's earlier warnings echoed in his mind. Strength is survival. Weakness is death. He dodged a massive strike that sent crystal shards flying, embedding themselves in the lattice walls. Sparks of energy from his blaster ignited in vain against the creature's thick alien hide. Every second stretched into an eternity. He needed Lyra's help, but how far could he push her before risking her life? "Lyra," Jared yelled, desperation sharpening his tone. The girl responded instantly, her body glowing brighter, the hum transforming into a sharp, melodic resonance. A wave of energy erupted from her, striking the monstrous figure. It stumbled, screeching in a guttural, inhuman sound. For a fleeting moment, hope surged, but it wasn't enough. The creature roared, a sound so deep it rattled Jared's chest. With a swift, merciless motion, it slammed him into the chamber wall. Pain lanced through his ribs, but his grip on Lyra never wavered. The girl shrieked, a high-pitched note that cut through the air like a blade. "Jared!" she cried, and for the first time, Jared felt fear not for himself. But for her, the creature's next strike shattered a section of the lattice wall. Jared tumbled with Lyra clutched to his chest, landing amidst shards of fractured crystal. His vision blurred, and the metallic taste of blood filled his mouth. His pulse blaster skittered away, useless and out of reach. He struggled to rise, the weight of the situation pressing down like a leaden cloak. Lyra whimpered softly, her glow flickering erratically, as if her energy was being drained by the creature's sheer force. "Hang on!" Jared gasped, gritting his teeth. We're not done yet." From the corner of his vision, he saw the chamber's lattice pulse faster, responding to Lyra's energy. An idea sparked a dangerous, desperate gamble. He set Lyra down, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "I don't care what happens. I'm not leaving you behind. But you have to push your power right now. Everything you've got." Lyra's violet eyes flared, brighter than ever. The hum turned into a piercing resonance that reverberated through the chamber, shaking the very walls. Crystals quivered violently, and the monstrous figure hesitated, its confidence faltering. Jared lunged forward, seizing a jagged shard of crystal from the floor. It wasn't a weapon in the conventional sense, but with Lyra's energy amplifying the impact, it could pierce the creature's hide. He ran. He struck, and the shard met resistance. The creature screeched, a terrifying, ear-splitting sound that echoed through the chamber. Jared stumbled backward, nearly losing balance, as the floor trembled beneath them. Lyra's glow dimmed slightly, her small form trembling as if the effort to repel the creature had cost her more than she could give. Jared knew with sinking certainty that this was only the beginning. The Valen's warning had been clear: survival demanded strength. But the price of failure had become horrifyingly real. He glanced at Lyra, panic gnawing at his chest. "We can't hold out forever," he whispered. "Not like this." Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the chamber. Shadows shifted, moving not from the creature, but from somewhere above, massive portal opening, shimmering with the violet light of distant stars. Figures emerge, others like Lyra, small and glowing, yet distinct, armed with the same resonant energy. Allies, or a test he hadn't anticipated. The monstrous figure roared, spinning toward the new arrivals. Jared felt a surge of hope. Flicker a fragile, fleeting spark. Maybe this was their chance. Maybe HumAlien Lyra weren't as alone as it seemed. But then, another pulse struck the chamber floor, stronger than anything before. Jared was thrown backward, skidding along fractured crystal as the monstrous figure recovered. Lyra's glow flickered one last time, her body trembling. Jared crawled to her side. "Hold on," he breathed, gripping her small shoulders. "We're not done yet. We're not done." The chamber quaked violently, shards raining down around them, and Jared realized the brutal truth. For all their courage, all their trust, hope alone wasn't enough. The Valen's trials and whatever larger threat they had unleashed were far from over. And then, above the chaos, a voice, cold and sharp, echoed through the chamber. "Now you will understand the true cost of failure, human. Now you will learn." The darkness hit like a tidal wave. Jared barely had time to raise Lyra in his arms before the massive figure surged forward, each step shaking the chamber's crystalline floor. Its presence radiated an oppressive heat, a power that felt older than the stars themselves. Jared's pulse blaster barely registered against it, the energy arcs sputtering uselessly against its armor-like skin. He shouted, trying to keep his voice steady. "We need a plan now." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly violet, a pulse of light that seemed to synchronize with his heartbeat. She hummed softly, a resonant vibration that filled the chamber. Jared felt the energy ripple through him, bolstering his reflexes, but it wasn't enough. The creature advanced with a fluid, terrifying grace. The Valen's earlier warnings echoed in his mind. Strength is survival. Weakness is death. He dodged a massive strike that sent crystal shards flying, embedding themselves in the lattice walls. Sparks of energy from his blaster ignited in vain against the creature's thick alien hide. Every second stretched into an eternity. He needed Lyra's help, but how far could he push her before risking her life? "Lyra," Jared yelled, desperation sharpening his tone. The girl responded instantly, her body glowing brighter, the hum transforming into a sharp, melodic resonance. A wave of energy erupted from her, striking the monstrous figure. It stumbled, screeching in a guttural, inhuman sound. For a fleeting moment, hope surged, but it wasn't enough. The creature roared, a sound so deep it rattled Jared's chest. With a swift, merciless motion, it slammed him into the chamber wall. Pain lanced through his ribs, but his grip on Lyra never wavered. The girl shrieked, a high-pitched note that cut through the air like a blade. "Jared!" she cried, and for the first time, Jared felt fear not for himself. But for her, the creature's next strike shattered a section of the lattice wall. Jared tumbled with Lyra clutched to his chest, landing amidst shards of fractured crystal. His vision blurred, and the metallic taste of blood filled his mouth. His pulse blaster skittered away, useless and out of reach. He struggled to rise, the weight of the situation pressing down like a leaden cloak. Lyra whimpered softly, her glow flickering erratically, as if her energy was being drained by the creature's sheer force. "Hang on!" Jared gasped, gritting his teeth. We're not done yet." From the corner of his vision, he saw the chamber's lattice pulse faster, responding to Lyra's energy. An idea sparked a dangerous, desperate gamble. He set Lyra down, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "I don't care what happens. I'm not leaving you behind. But you have to push your power right now. Everything you've got." Lyra's violet eyes flared, brighter than ever. The hum turned into a piercing resonance that reverberated through the chamber, shaking the very walls. Crystals quivered violently, and the monstrous figure hesitated, its confidence faltering. Jared lunged forward, seizing a jagged shard of crystal from the floor. It wasn't a weapon in the conventional sense, but with Lyra's energy amplifying the impact, it could pierce the creature's hide. He ran. He struck and the shard met resistance. The creature screeched, a terrifying, ear-splitting sound that echoed through the chamber. Jared stumbled backward, nearly losing balance, as the floor trembled beneath them. Lyra's glow dimmed slightly, her small form trembling as if the effort to repel the creature had cost her more than she could give. Jared knew with sinking certainty that this was only the beginning. The Valen's warning had been clear: survival demanded strength. But the price of failure had become horrifyingly real. He glanced at Lyra, panic gnawing at his chest. "We can't hold out forever," he whispered. "Not like this." Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the chamber. Shadows shifted, moving not from the creature, but from somewhere above, massive portal opening, shimmering with the violet light of distant stars. Figures emerge, others like Lyra, small and glowing, yet distinct, armed with the same resonant energy. Allies, or a test he hadn't anticipated. The monstrous figure roared, spinning toward the new arrivals. Jared felt a surge of hope, flicker a fragile, fleeting spark. Maybe this was their chance. Maybe Humaniton Lyra weren't as alone as it seemed. But then, another pulse struck the chamber floor, stronger than anything before. Jared was thrown backward, skidding along fractured crystal as the monstrous figure recovered. Lyra's glow flickered one last time, her body trembling. Jared crawled to her side. "Hold on," he breathed, gripping her small shoulders. "We're not done yet. We're not done." The chamber quaked violently, shards raining down around them, and Jared realized the brutal truth. For all their courage, all their trust, hope alone wasn't enough. The Valen's trials and whatever larger threat they had unleashed were far from over. And then, above the chaos, a voice, cold and sharp, echoed through the chamber. "Now you will understand the true cost of failure, human. Now you will learn." The Valen Council had summoned them more, perhaps judged them. Jared had no way of knowing. All he knew was that the chamber now stretched into a vast cathedral-like expanse, walls of crystalline light towering impossibly high, each facet pulsing with a rhythm like a heartbeat of the universe itself. Lyra floated slightly before him, her small form radiant, glowing with an intensity that made the surrounding air hum, and in the center of the hall, the Valens stood tall and imposing, their golden eyes glimmering with scrutiny and something deeper anticipation. "You have survived the trials," one intoned, voice resonating across the chamber. "Yet survival is merely the beginning. You face now the Crucible's ultimate test." Jared's pulse quickened. "Crucible?" he asked. "What does that mean?" The Valen Council spoke in unison, a harmonic chorus that shook the crystalline walls. "The galaxy's future hinges upon your species' resilience. An ancient threat approaches one that even we cannot contain alone. The being you faced was only a fragment of what comes." Jared's stomach tightened. The monstrous creature they had beaten it, but it had been only a shadow of a far greater power. And now, the real test was at hand. Lyra's glow intensified, resonating in Jared's mind like a living melody. He felt her thoughts, her courage, her trust flowing into him, grounding him against the weight of inevitability. "You will fight," the council continued. "Not as humans alone, not as Valens, together." From the shadows of the chamber, a figure emerged, different from the rest. Larger, darker, armored in jagged obsidian plates. The aura surrounding it was suffocating, a malevolent force that made the air itself vibrate. Jared's pulse blazed. This was no ordinary opponent. This was the culmination of every warning, every trial, every fear he had faced since Phaedronine. But he had Lyra, and he had trust. He stepped forward, pulse blaster in hand. "We'll fight," he said, his voice steady, carrying through the vast hall. "Not just for survival, not just for us, but for every being in this galaxy who can't fight for themselves." The creature let out a sound that wasn't a roar or a scream, but something deeper, a resonance that shook the crystalline floor. Shadows twisted around it, forming weapons, claws, tendrils of energy that lashed out like living darkness. Jared dodged instinctively, Lyra's energy guiding his movements. With each step, he became more than human, moving in rhythm with her resonance. Together, they were a combination of human ingenuity and alien power that no one had anticipated. The battle was immediate, intense, and unrelenting. Jared struck with shards of crystal infused with Lyra's energy, while she extended pulses that disrupted the creature's attacks. It was a dance of light and shadow, a symphony of survival that reverberated through the chamber. Every strike tested their limits. Every move demanded trust. Jared could feel exhaustion creeping in, his muscles screaming for respite. Yet Lyra's hum surged through him, a tether that strengthened his resolve. Then came the turning moment. The creature lunged faster than thought, aiming directly for Lyra. Jared intercepted, taking the brunt of the strike, sending himself and Lyra skidding across the crystalline floor. Pain flared like fire, but he held on. Lyra! He shouted, and she responded not with fear, but with an explosion of energy that enveloped both of them and radiated outward. The chamber shook violently, crystals cracking, light scattering into prismatic fragments. The creature shrieked, its form destabilizing under the combined human-alien force. Jared, fueled by desperation and hope, channeled every ounce of strength into the final strike. Lyra's resonance pulsed through him, guiding, amplifying, focusing. Together, they drove a shard of crystal through the creature's core. There was a deafening silence, followed by a pulse of light so bright it seemed to collapse the entire chamber. When Jared opened his eyes, the creature was gone. The shadows dissolved, leaving only the shimmering crystal walls. The Valens were silent for a long moment. Then one stepped forward, golden eyes gleaming. "You have done what none of us expected. Humanity has triumphed. And yet, more than triumph. You have proven something vital, that trust, courage, and unity across species can shape destiny itself." Jared sank to his knees. Exhaustion overwhelming him, Lyra nestled safely in his arms. Her glow pulsed softly, rhythmic, steady. "We did it," he murmured. Together, the Valens nodded. "The galaxy owes you a debt, but the future is not secured. There are still threats, still challenges. Yet now, we know that humanity and Lyra can rise to face them." Jared looked down at Lyra, small, glowing, alive in his arms. The bond they shared had carried them through impossible trials. And as he felt the warmth of her trust and strength, he realized this was only the beginning. For the first time, Jared allowed himself to hope. Humanity had not only survived, had prevailed. And somewhere in the distant stars, new adventures waited. The chamber was silent now, the echoes of battle fading into a soft, resonant hum. Jared sat on the polished crystal floor, Lyra in his arms, her violet glow warm and steady. The Valens had withdrawn, leaving him and the child alone in the vast expanse of their luminous hall. For the first time since Fadranin, he could breathe without the constant weight of imminent danger pressing down. Her pulse, gentle and rhythmic, seemed to tether him to reality. Jared smiled, fatigue and relief mingling in his veins. "We made it," he whispered. "We actually made it. You understand now?" Lyra's small, melodic voice resonated in his mind, a soft, hum-like wind over crystal. "The galaxy. We are not alone. There are others who will help." Jared nodded. Humanity had survived the impossible not by sheer firepower, but by trust, ingenuity, and the bond he shared with Lyra. The Valens trials had been brutal, but they had forced him to see what humans could achieve when pushed beyond limits. Strength, yes, but also empathy, creativity, and courage. The chamber shimmered again, and figures began to emerge from the shadows. The luminous beings who had fought alongside Lyra, their light warm and reassuring. They were small, but powerful, each one radiating the resonance that had turned the tide against the monstrous figure. They nodded to Jared, acknowledging him not as a human visitor, but as an ally, a partner in a larger struggle for the galaxy's survival. One of the Valens returned briefly, golden eyes glinting with approval. "You have proven yourselves," it said. "The galaxy will remember this day. But remember, humans, your journey has only begun. Strength without wisdom is fleeting. You must continue to grow, to adapt, to lead." Jared met the alien's gaze. "We will. Humanity doesn't give up, and neither will Lyra." The Valen inclined its head and withdrew, leaving them in quiet. Jared rose, carrying Lyra to the edge of the chamber where a view of the cosmos stretched infinitely. Stars blazed in colors no human eye had named, distant worlds spinning in the silent ballet of the galaxy. Somewhere out there, threats remained, civilizations awaited, alliances would be forged, and humanity would face them stronger, wiser, united. Lyra leaned against his shoulder, small and vulnerable, yet radiant with untapped potential. "Where do we go now?" she asked softly. Jared gazed out at the stars, letting the quiet hum of the chamber fill him. "Forward," he said simply. "We go forward, together." In the distance beyond the crystal walls, faint signals pulsed in the void messages from other civilizations, unknown worlds, new challenges. Jared felt a thrill course through him. Adventure, danger, triumph, and discovery awaited. And he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Wherever humanity went, Lyra would be by his side, and together they would shape the fate of the galaxy. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Jared allowed himself to smile fully, without fear, without hesitation. The stars beckoned, and humanity would answer not as victims of circumstance, but as champions of their own destiny. Lyra's small hand tightened on his. Her glow pulsed in joyful rhythm, a silent promise of trust and courage, and as the auroras of the alien world shimmered in brilliant hues across the crystalline sky, Jared realized that this was more than survival. It was the beginning of a legacy humanity and alien life. Intertwined, resilient, unstoppable. The galaxy was theirs to explore, and together they would face it all. The end.